Hey everyone, we're Fridays Future Toronto, a climate justice grassroots movement led by youth. We look at climate change as not only an environmental crisis, but as a social justice crisis too.
Marginalized communities are and will continue to be the most affected by this crisis.
Did you know that climate change is already here and people are feeling the effects?
Natural disasters are becoming increasingly common and catastrophic as time goes on.
Forest fires are burning large amounts of trees, the lungs of our earth. And typhoons, flooding, hurricanes, and tornadoes are stealing lives and destroying our communities, especially those in coastal areas.
Haven't you also noticed that our winters in Canada are getting shorter? When our parents were kids, there used to be snow all the way up to the roof. But now, getting enough snow to toboggan is an increasingly rare sight.
This is climate change, and we are running out of time.
What are fossil fuels?
What is divestment?
Why should this even matter to you?
And what does Fridays for Future Toronto have to do with any of this?
Fossil fuels are made from the decomposed bodies of plants and animals that died more than 1,000 years ago. Hence the name fossil fuels.
These fuels contain combustible elements such as carbon and hydrogen, which can be burned and processed into energy sources such as oil and gas.
So what is the problem with taking dead things and making them useful to us?
The extraction of fossil fuels from the earth is extremely harmful for the environment, and once they are extracted and used, it is even worse for the environment.
And not only this, but fossil fuels are non-renewable. This means that once we pull fossil fuels from the ground and use them, we only benefit from them once until more is needed to meet our demand. This ultimately creates a vicious cycle of wasting natural resources and hurting our earth in different ways over and over again.
When fossil fuels are burned for energy, large amounts of carbon dioxide are released into the air. The CO2 emissions trap heat in the air, leading to the warming of our planet, otherwise known as global warming.
But don't humans and other animals breathe out CO2? What's the difference between the CO2 we breathe out and the CO2 produced by burning fossil fuels?
Though many living creatures exhale carbon dioxide, our ecosystems have been designed to handle a certain level of carbon dioxide emissions. However, the amount of carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere from the burning of fossil fuels is way too much for our Earth to handle.
This means that almost all of it enters the atmosphere where it can trap heat and contribute to global warming.
Approximately 3/4 of our carbon emissions come from burning fossil fuels, making it the main contributor to global warming.
Our Earth's temperature has already risen by 1 degree Celsius, and that may not seem like a lot, but that 1 degree has already caused wildfires, rising sea levels, floods, destroyed habitats, and so many other terrible things. All this is happening because of a single degree, and the scary part is that our planet is expected to get even warmer if we don't do anything about it.
Another important part of the climate crisis is what it does to people's health. A warmer climate changes the way that animals move, bringing different diseases that may have never been introduced to humans before. This increases potential for pandemics of zoonotic diseases, meaning diseases that are jumping from animals to humans, such as COVID-19.
Scientists say we only have 9 years left to prevent irreversible damage from climate change.
So you might be wondering, what can we do?
We can fight for climate justice.
But how do we start? And how does it achieve anything?
When we fight for climate justice, we bring light and attention to this global crisis and ask people in power to start to take action as well. We fight for a transition away from fossil fuels, for clean air and water to be available to everyone, no matter who you are, and for the people who hold a lot of power and influence to act on climate justice promises.
We work towards renewable energy sources. Renewable energy includes wind, solar, and biomass energy.
What are renewable energy sources good for?
Renewable energy can help produce less greenhouse gas emissions from fossil fuels and reduce certain types of air pollution. And they're all power sources that can be naturally replenished.
Supporting fossil fuel divestment is another important step you can take.
While taking individual action is important, we have to hold those funding this crisis accountable.
Fossil fuel divestment is the practice of avoiding putting money into fossil fuel-based projects and companies. This is an important way to transition away from a fossil fuel-based future.
Oh my gosh, this climate crisis is way worse than I thought. I need to start recycling.
I'm so glad you're being responsible in recycling, but did you know that 90% of plastics can't be recycled?
Have I been lied to my whole life? Does that mean I can't even help fight against this crisis?
There is so much you can do. Youth have so much power, and we are the last generation that can reverse the effects of this crisis. But it's not power in the way that you think. While it's important to reduce your own impacts on the environment, individuals are not causing the climate crisis, but we do have the power to stop it.
You can use your voice. You can fight for climate justice through climate strikes, rallies, education, social media, and protests. Through youth empowerment, valuing land, water, and life, and uplifting and amplifying marginalized voices, Fridays for Future hosts teach-ins, webinars, climate strikes to fight for climate justice and to secure a livable and flourishing future for all.
You may be watching this video on March the 19th, give or take a few days.
This is because on March 19th, students from all around the globe will be stepping out into the streets to demand climate action. We'll be demanding a transition away from fossil fuels, for clean air and water to be a right for everyone, and for people that hold power and influence to act on their climate justice promises.
However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, lots of students will be demanding this online as well.
Through live streams, sending emails, calling elected officials, and taking photos, we'll fight for climate justice in a socially distanced and safe way.
You can even send us a photo of you holding up a climate strike poster to our Instagram or Facebook at Fridays for Future TO, our Twitter at TO for Future, or our email at fridaysforfuture@gmail.com, and we'll repost you.
And at the end of the day, the most important thing you can do is talk about this crisis. Share the lessons you learned today with your friends and family and anyone you know, and tell them the importance of fighting for climate justice and secure a livable future for all. We are fighting for climate justice. Are you going to join us?